Hello, 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 and welcome to the Rag Company podcast. I think we're at number 46 now.
46.
I've got Levi
Hey
on
guys,
my
how's
right,
it going?
and Anthony on my left.
What's going on, guys?
And we just got back from a pretty fun trip.
It was a very.
Yeah, we did.
It felt longer, but it went by pretty quickly. It went by really fast, actually.
The travel portions were a bit lengthy.
The East Coast adventure. It
Yeah,
happened.
that's right.
We did
Yeah.
it. We've been talking about it for months. It finally
We did
happened.
it. We're back.
We survived.
We survived.
For those of you that are wondering, we accomplished all our goals and tasks that we set out
And then some.
to achieve,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then some.
Yeah.
So we even got to stop off in Colonial Williamsburg unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So that
Love
was
that
fun.
place.
Yeah.
No, we have so much to tell you guys. This is probably going to go a little
This is going to
longer
be a
than
trip podcast.
than a typical podcast because
We're
we have
gonna
so
recap.
much to talk about.
You know how these recaps get. So.
Yeah, they get pretty crazy. Okay, so let's start it off. Let's do maybe like each person gets a day or something like that. So
All right.
Levi, take it away from when we flew out of this place.
But feel free to pepper in experiences that you had if you need to
Thoughts,
rub
okay.
somebody.
feelings.
All right, I can
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
Maybe if you
So-
remember anything.
Yeah. So we left here.
Yeah,
Was about 6 o'clock
Monday night.
Monday night.
Yep.
Met at the airport. No one forgot their phones.
No.
Yeah.
That was a
However,
plus.
I forgot my hat and my
Right.
other hoodie that I was going to wear,
Yeah.
and I was very, very bummed about that. But I did pack one of my scallies, so that was good.
Always.
Yeah. So then we, of course, had pre-check. So we walked right up, nobody in line.
Don't
'cause it
leave
was
home without it.
6
Yeah.
o'clock on a Tuesday
Feeling
night or
super
whatever,
important in
or
the
Monday.
Boise
Was it
airport.
Tuesday night we left?
It was Monday night.
Monday night.
Yeah.
Yep.
So got to the airport, hopped on our plane to Seattle, landed in Seattle, had about an hour or two. Not
It was
too bad.
It was
We
still
went and grabbed some
daylight
dinner.
when we ended up in Seattle.
Yeah. Our flight got delayed about half an hour, which wasn't a big thing because we were going to be sleeping on
It's
the
going
plane
to be an
anyway.
overnighter
Yeah.
anyway.
But we had upgraded our flight for that leg from Seattle to Newark, and that was very welcome. I enjoyed the 4 inches of extra legroom.
4 inches does make a difference, despite what
I seriously
most
didn't think it
people
was.
say.
It's, maybe that
male
much.
and female. Yeah, yeah. So
But I was seriously thought I seriously thought well, my hands are bigger than yours. so.
I have small hands. I'll openly admit that.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, but it made a big difference.
Yeah.
It was nice to stretch out. We had joked that Dane and I would fall asleep.
Yeah.
Anthony wouldn't because, as you all know, he's a very stressed flyer.
He's the
flight
anxious
anxiety.
flyer.
Yeah. So the Dane and I'd be asleep, which was perfect because Dane and I would be driving or have the rental car. So
Yep.
we thought this will work out great because even if Anthony doesn't sleep, he can sleep in the rental car when we land.
Yeah.
So, and what happened, Dane?
Kind of went the other way.
Yeah.
Thanks to some little medication, he was able to sleep well.
Yeah, Anthony was living life on the hog. He had his
Yeah.
neck pillow and
Yeah, it was-
seat
it was-
back,
it was
back,
good.
and
Turns out you just
eating some
knocked out
snack.
cold.
just
and
needed a little
yeah.
nap time. So
Levi, you slept as well.
I slept. It wasn't great sleep, but
No.
I did sleep.
I mean, it's
So,
airplane sleep. So
yeah.
you take
Yeah.
what you can get. And in my case, I got nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got
literally-
maybe 15 to 30 minutes
Yeah.
max.
So I look
It was
over.
a whole red-eye flight
yeah, we
from
have this-
midnight
we have
to
this, like-
7 a.m.
We have this in joke, this meme going on now
Well, it
amongst
just-
us
so-
about what I look like when I'm just uncomfortable on a plane. It's just
Well,
kind of.
he had the middle seat. So it
If you're
wasn't
watching
ideal.
on YouTube right now, it was sort of like this. I have my arms folded, because I'm in between these guys, and I just kind of lean forward, and then little uncomfortable, lean back, and
It was like
got to
that
adjust
for-
again, like an
for
hour
about
later.
5.5 hours.
And come back forward, and it's basically like the crappiest exercise routine
Well,
you've
and
ever seen.
Anthony and I, Anthony was on the aisle, I was on the window, so I was leaned over. So, armrest for you to use, Dave.
Yep.
And Anthony was doing the same. He was leaning like this. So you had armrests.
Yeah,
we tried
I
to
just-
give you as much comfortable.
I don't like jacking up people's personal space. I want to
Yeah.
mind the boundaries. I mean,
Right.
we're all buddies, but
Yeah. Well, I was just everywhere. I was just wherever my neck pillow took me, and I was leaning. So, but and I mean, I think I got hit in the shoulder a couple times with the cart. But no, yeah. So Dane was pretty uncomfortable. But overall, I mean, the flight. I mean, not ideal. It's a long flight. I mean, you're literally going coast to coast. We're going from Seattle
To
all
New
the way
Jersey.
to Newark.
the thing is, when you're in Boise, usually if you have to cross a large distance like that,
Right.
you don't just go from Boise to that place.
Right.
Even if you go on a bigger airline or you pay more or
No,
whatever,
there's
you're
still
ending
you're always
up on
going to
some
get at least
connecting
one
flight.
connection.
So in our case, we went further away so that we could go further away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So we landed. We got into Newark about 7:30. We headed down to pick up our rental car. For some reason, they didn't have. They had the rental car reservation, but they didn't have our insurance on file that we had paid for.
Always
through
a good
Travelocity.
sign.
So we used my personal insurance. Super fun.
Did you say Travelocity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking, whoa, my head's just all. Never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, we
Continue.
used Travelocity to book the rental car, and we
Shout
paid
out to
extra.
Travelocity, yeah.
And
Give us a discount
let's
next
just say
time.
dollar renter car didn't have any record of it. So, so needless to say, got to drive through East Coast traffic on my own personal insurance,
Yeah.
which is super fun.
Taking your life into your own
Yeah,
hands.
well, especially when you let somebody like Dane drive the car, you know it's in safe hands.
Well,
So
I was wondering where you were going to take that, and I was like, yes, this is true.
I knew Dane wouldn't do anything, so I was more worried about the other drivers because it's my insurance. I mess it up. I do my
Right,
stuff. It's on me. That's fine.
But those other drivers.
But there was, so we survived an East Coast road trip
Yes.
without a scratch.
Yep.
Totally perfect.
I was impressed, honestly.
So
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, driving over there on the East Coast, it's not actually as bad. It's not as bad as California.
not as bad.
So if you're listening in California, like you guys, that's like a cakewalk for you on the East Coast. But there is some East Coast. I mean, you do have to get a little bit more aggressive in certain areas.
and we did drive. So we drove
let's
all the way
get
from
that-
Newark to Norfolk, Virginia the first day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
as soon as
literally
we got off
landed.
the plane, we landed, we got the car, we
set
drove
it on
to
Google
Norfolk.
Maps and headed to Norfolk.
Yeah, and that's not ideal. And a lot of people are asking, well, why didn't you just fly to Norfolk? Why didn't you do that? Well, this was we had an opportunity to present itself on day 2, I guess, which would be Wednesday, that we didn't expect to happen. It was kind of a last minute thing, and that was an invitation to come to Fantomworks, which is located down there in Virginia. And so we kind of had to shift our gears, and it kind of changed the way things went. So we said, okay, we'll land.
We're from Boise, and we looked at the map, and it said 350 miles.
Yeah, that's a
For me,
cakewalk,
that's like I can do that in my sleep.
That's a very short
piece of cake
distance
run.
by, the
But
measure
for
of
some
things
reason,
out
Apple
here.
Maps said it was like a 7-hour drive
Yeah.
to go 350 miles.
And
which
Apple
is,
Maps was pretty much right on.
And Apple
spot
Maps was
on.
pretty much right on. We averaged 50 miles an hour on that trip,
Yeah.
which is insane.
We got stuck in some kind of time warp.
We did.
I'm pretty
We got
sure
we
because
got lost
the
in
flight
Colonial Williamsburg.
Felt longer than it actually was, and the drive there, at least, felt longer than it actually was.
Right.
I don't know what it was, but so we all jumped in that car. We drove down. We had stopped in.
We rented a Kia Sorento for
I
those.
wondered if he was going to bring that up.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It had sport mode, which was
It did have
nice.
sport mode.
Levi took advantage of that.
Yeah, many times.
But we
We did pack a radar detector just in case.
We did do that. I know.
But
It's
we put it away in Virginia because
We did put it away
there.
in Virginia, but we didn't. I was maybe 7 over. I never once hit 10 or 15 over, which I normally do.
Yeah, no, because everybody said not to, and so we made sure
and
not
Dane
to.
he was in the back. He was bringing up, hey, this state says this.
There's one thing I know from years and years of reading Jalopnik and other things. It's that don't speed in certain states on the East Coast. So that's why I was like the backseat driver on that particular
but I mean, in
thing.
Boise, we're spoiled because it's 80 on the
we take it for
freeway.
granted
So
out here.
we can do 90, 95 all the way down to Utah.
And what's crazy is that on the road, so we had a radar detector, right?
Yep.
And it's kept going off in certain areas, and we're like, where are these cops? We don't see these like normal cops, right? It turns out everything is an unmarked car there, not undercover, but unmarked. So we're seeing these, Dodge Chargers or Challengers, whatever they are. Chargers is what they were. These
in gray.
In gray,
with tinted windows.
all over the place. I mean, it was literally every couple minutes we would see one drive by, and so we didn't realize how how many there were. It was,
you'd look for state troopers, but they were in unmarked. Which,
and I'm like, what?
Super sketchy.
Yeah,
super dense.
Yeah, that's unfair.
They were hidden in the trees too.
Yeah,
there was
at least
ton of trees.
See it coming. So that radar detector was definitely a blessing as far as that goes. But so we actually arrived in Virginia after a long trip. We made a few pit stops along the way, and which was cool. But we arrived in Virginia. Really noticed the first thing we noticed driving through a lot of the towns and just noticing the East Coast is every house is either white or brick. It's that's a white house, that's a brick house. There's a white house, brick house. And Levi was just in heaven, loving the brick. I think
The aesthetic.
I think
Got a
that's
thing.
what turns him on is
Yeah, a
seeing
little
brick.
bit of brick action.
Yeah, he's like,
Let's just say I was
this
at
brick is
Let's
everywhere.
just say I was at Home Depot yesterday, touching some bricks,
Getting inspired.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
like
man.
you're like seeing like, well, that brick's kind of burnt, and oh, that brick has some really nice wear
How
to
can
it.
I age this
And-
brick?
yeah.
How can I give it a
But like
patina?
Levi, you
Yeah.
weirdo,
Yeah.
dude. It's just brick, man. So
Not to him, it's not.
driving through.
Yeah.
But another big thing we also realized though is that, I mean, it was my first time on the East Coast, and I didn't realize how much forest there was
Yeah.
and how much green there was in comparison
You
to what
could
we have here.
literally bury a body in the forest.
Anywhere, just point,
across the
just-
street.
just
you could
point and bury.
you
And
just take someone across the street and just put them in someone's yard.
if I was a murderer, that's
Yeah.
where I would be. Boise, you cannot get away with that,
Yeah.
right? There's just too many fields and things like
Yeah.
that that
We're
are too
the city
obvious.
of trees, but actually we feel pretty spread out compared to a lot
Yeah.
of these places.
Yeah.
Like my experience on the East Coast that I've had in like the last decade or so, that's the only experience I had was like back in high school. I went on trips there and stuff. But we only went to the city centers. We never got out into like suburbia or out further.
Or did a road
into
trip through
yeah,
5
or
states.
like a road trip between the areas. It was always somewhere on the interstate or in the city. So I got the concrete jungle vibe. But I had no idea just how wooded all your guys' stuff is over there. It's impressive, really.
Yeah.
A lot of deer,
Yeah.
by the way.
A lot of everything, but it was just a ton of green. So right when we got to Norfolk, we still don't know how to say that to this day.
Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah. So we checked into our hotel that we had down there, and we went out for dinner that one night. And
Yep.
this was probably
we literally did Google Roulette
Yeah.
with
Yep.
it, and we pulled the first
4.5-star review.
4.5-star review. we
First
could find.
interesting looking
Yeah,
thing.
that too. And where'd we settle on?
So it was called, oh man, I can't remember the name of it.
Freemasons Abbey.
Yep.
Freemasons Abbey, which was in, I believe, the downtown
Yep.
district, like the older district of
cool looking
of
down
Norfolk there. And really cool looking.
Yeah.
Everything is super old, and it was really interesting to see just the building structures and things like that. So when we saw this this abbey, we see it, and it's just essentially an old church, right?
Yep.
Like an old. It's been a couple things
Yeah.
over the last 100-something
We
years.
we hit on it. We took some video of it and stuff, so
Yeah.
it'll be in our travel video. But it was basically an old church from the early 1800s
yeah,
or
really
mid 1800s, and then
it's
they
made out of stone and
Yeah.
super tall. But you walk in and everything is, they have like really large rafters, and they have an upstairs that they built out.
Yeah.
It's totally open inside. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can see all the way up inside.
So it's definitely got some history behind it. But it
you
was
can check out my Facebook
Yeah.
page that I
you
posted
posted
of
some
us
pictures,
on there,
yeah.
so you guys can check that out.
Yeah, I'll try and throw a pic or two into the travel video just
Yeah.
to give people
so
an
people
idea.
can see what we're talking about. But we sat down. We asked the waitress, what's the best thing to order? She said the crab sheet chowder is what it was
Sheet
called.
crab chowder.
Sheet
Yeah.
crab chowder. And so
Oh man.
we
if
had
you're
to,
into chowder.
You guys had that.
Yeah.
we had to order some of that, and that was amazing. And then we all three got our own nice plates of food.
Nice plates. What did you get, Anthony?
Well, I got the seafood Fantasia.
With a name like that.
With
Yeah.
a name like that. All right, and you know what, guys? It was like an $18 plate. I wasn't breaking 30 or anything like that, but it was I think it was just kind of like some type of it was a pasta with a cream, like a garlic cream sauce, and then it had big prawns, and it had shrimp, and it had
So really,
pieces
it's
of
like
crab.
a seafood fettuccine kind of thing.
Kinda, yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I
And
had a pork
it was
chop
pretty
and
good.
some
Yeah.
mushrooms.
Yours was like
and
an apple pork chop.
Mine was an apple chutney on top of the pork chop on top of mashed
Smelled
potatoes.
so good.
Yeah.
It was wicked with
Yeah.
some asparagus.
One
What'd
was
you
like
have?
a beef tenderloin penne,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was just like slathered in this crazy, kind of cheese sauce. It was awesome.
So I posted that picture of us, and you know who responded and said, "I've eaten there."
Oh,
Who?
My Aunt Sevy,
Oh.
who is the culinary director for
Savvy de
Topgolf.
la Levy, yeah.
So that
So
was
she
pretty
knows
cool.
what's good.
Yeah. So she was like, "That's a cool place." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes."
yes, it
That's-
is.
So
That's pretty cool. But
You know.
we did that, and then after we ate, after we ate the main course, we ordered some bread pudding.
That was
That was a
Now we're in a church. That was a religious experience.
Yeah.
it was,
It was
and
pretty
I
impressive.
felt the Lord
You
come
felt the
down
hand
to
of
me,
God.
and He said, "Hey, this is
Put this on
a
your tongue."
gift." Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, we're not in a Catholic church, so moving on. So we had the bread pudding, and it was delicious.
it was amazing.
It was
We-
really, really
like,
good.
I literally Dane and I closed our eyes when we each took a bite.
Yeah.
And then we
The
told
first bite
Anthony
was
he
just
had to.
magical.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like, you have to close your eyes.
And I was done. I was so full, but I mean, it was really, really good. They did like whole cream. It was like whipping
Yeah.
cream that they put on top of this this bread pudding, and it was really good. we left there after we were done. Went
back to our hotel.
Back to the hotel because we were going on 24 hours.
Yeah, we hadn't
little
had
sleep.
any sleep at that.
Yeah.
You had slept in the back seat of the car.
Yeah.
Once
But
again,
not-
this guy's getting the sleep, and we didn't think he would.
Yeah,
but-
well, so Dane was running on 24 hours of no sleep.
Literally. Yeah.
No sleep.
we all know how great I am after that.
I had driven the whole way down, and I was probably punchy. I was about 5.
Yeah.
4.5 hours of sleep, and then driving for 7 hours. So,
So we all took a big nap next to the electrical plant.
it was a good hum. It lulled me to sleep.
Well, you guys
Yeah.
slept. That was
yeah.
actually so.
So
I got I
that's
bunked
right.
up with Dane, which I forgot. Dane occasionally snores, and that's okay for the most part. But so I
It's
have a
arrhythmic
I have a musical
snoring.
background, right? I'm a drummer, right? So if somebody can snore in a pattern, right, that's totally fine. I can fall asleep to that. But the fact that Dane apparently developed sleep
developed sleep apnea overnight.
like, overnight, his snoring was just everywhere. He's like, pause. I'm like, oh my god, like what's happening?
Oh, man.
So I had to sleep with a pillow over my head, and I eventually was like, Dane. I woke him up, and he's like, didn't even know what was going on. He's like, what's going on? And he kind of rolled over on his back, and the snoring subsided, and I was finally able to sleep. But after that, I was like, yeah, I'm bunking up with Levi.
Yeah.
For the rest of this trip.
And Dane
So-
got his own room.
Yeah.
and Dane,
So I had my own room that first night, which was great. I slept. It was perfect. Dane got some gorgeous sleep.
Yep.
That's finally much needed.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
nothing like a sleep after 24 hours out.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
finally
yeah,
getting
you
that.
almost died.
Yeah, well, that was funny. He heard like a pause in the snoring and the
I'm
breathing.
sitting
and he's
there like, do I need to go
Is he gonna-
resuscitate him?
is he
Do I
gonna
need-
breathe?
Do I need
He's
to go
gonna breathe, right?
mouth to mouth? Like, what's going on? So
Oh, it was great.
We woke up the next morning, grabbed some breakfast.
We got up
and
early.
We got up really
Yeah.
early because we had a meeting over at Fantomworks
Yeah,
at
we got there
7
at 6:30
a.m.
in the morning. We were at Fantomworks.
Yeah.
And so we hooked up with Connor over there, who's their marketing guy. And for those of you that are wondering, you probably heard us talk about it before. You've seen these cool signs that we have in the backdrop here. We actually made those for Fantomworks, so they
Yeah.
have the pairs of those two signs in their shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we give them towels, and we're really excited for that partnership, and it's been a lot of fun. They're doing some stuff with our brushes too, which we really like. So we had to go in and say hi. We wanted to check the place out.
Yeah.
My dad's a huge fan of the show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so he was just over the moon when I was sending him the pictures back. But really a cool place. You guys can watch the show on Velocity. Check it out. But Dan, who owns the shop, is just the guy's a genius.
Fascinating guy.
He was an ex-Green Beret and helicopter pilot
I
or
think
he was a
something.
ranger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was Green Beret.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Just a really crazy background, but he. That whole shop, I mean, it's kind of hard to put it into words.
60,000 square feet.
60,000 square feet, but everything is like something out of that could be a photo on its own or a backdrop of something and be really interesting.
It's like a Disneyland almost. Like
Yeah.
the amount of engineering and design that thought into
Decorations
doing the
and-
decorations in the building. He does himself.
Yeah, he does that himself. And we when we met up with him later, we asked him. I was like, dude, I'm curious. How do you find the stuff? Who decorates for you? He's like, oh, I do it all myself. And I said, okay, well, are you just going garage sailing 24/7? Like, how are you? Do you have time to do this? And
Yeah.
he says he somehow fits it into his schedule, and he has little toy cars everywhere. He has old
Yeah.
cans, old signs. He had 3 of those giant 76 signs, which are
There's 6 of them.
yeah, He had what, they're probably $1,000 a piece. Just
Anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 a
Yeah.
piece.
This
at
thing
least.
is
It's
enough
6
to
of them in
fill
the
up
shop.
at least 2 or
Like-
3 museums worth
Oh
of
yeah,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
just signage, and then on top of that, the museum upstairs that he has
Yes.
he literally has a museum
Yeah.
upstairs
of just antiques and
things that he can't
stuff.
necessarily put downstairs because it doesn't fit. So he has old record players. He has tons and tons of records, old newspapers, license plates, little toy cars. He
Yeah.
has old machining equipment and all this
And in
stuff.
good condition, too.
Yeah.
That's the
Like,
other
and-
thing.
and-
This isn't falling apart here. This is actually really...
And so it's 60,000 square feet. But what was so cool is that every single area had its own theme, and every single area of that whole warehouse had its own purpose. And so everything is done in shop there, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Everything except for alignments they do in shop.
alignments and engine tuning or building. They basically
they have
brakes was the other one.
I think it was brakes because they have a full on machining shop. They have a wood shop, like a full on wood shop, like the size of something you'd see.
You need to build a custom desk, they can do it.
They can do everything, and so they have a wood shop. They have a whole upholstery room
shop
where they can do all seats and leather and chairs.
Compartmentalized in a really cool way.
And then their body shop and paint shop and all
booths,
that stuff.
Yeah, they have all this crazy stuff, and then they have an area just for custom work, and they have an area for really high-end work where they need to get some really nice cars away from everything and put it on the lift.
There are a lot of very cool things in there that we cannot talk about.
Yeah,
but
we saw
there's a lot of very nice things.
It was amazing, though. Yeah. Just the fact that he bought this building, it was an abandoned old linen factory, and it was a burned out old factory.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing the story on the show and how he had, started rebuilding it, but to actually be there in person and then talk to him and go, how long did it actually take you to get this place ready? He's like, about 4 years. And to find out that all those antique windows were cemented up, that he chipped out the cement. And when he chipped off the cement, they were painted underneath.
And finding
so
the wall,
to scrape them.
The bricks behind all the cheap plaster and all that stuff, and that was amazing.
It was really crazy. I mean, the thing was, the first thing I noticed when walking through there is everything had just this very fine layer of dust on it, and all these tools were just set in a certain way to where I'm walking in there and I'm like, is this place even a working shop, right?
Yeah.
Because it looks like
everything looks like
it's been there for a while.
It looks like it's been there for a while. Like there's be a certain wrench or a certain towel sitting on a vehicle, and I'm like, that looks like it hasn't been touched in a while. It looks like we're going to like a museum.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this a working place? And Connor looks at me, he's like, yeah.
Just wait.
People were in here until 5 o'clock, 5:36 last night. And I said, huh. And in about 2 hours after that, everybody starts rolling in, all the workers there. And I see these wrenches that were perfectly set, with this fine layer of dust, right, picked up and working and things. And so it just shows that it's a working place, and they do a really good job of keeping it clean and cleaning it up after they're done to make it really seem like it's a ready-to-shoot video series at any time.
The place wasn't dirty, if that's what you're asking.
No, the dust is its own character. It's not like
it's just working dust.
Yeah.
It's just dust from the shop. I mean, it'll land on anything.
Yeah, like the wood shop.
Yeah. But it was awesome. We got to go in every single room. We got to check out the whole place, and it was neat to see all the projects and sections of the building, and then just a whole bunch of there's so much just stuff. I feel like we could have spent another couple hours there just looking around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite was that out of all the cars there, right? I walk in and one of the first things I see is a Honda S2000. I'm like, whose S2000 is that? And Connor's like, that's actually Dan's. Dan loves that.
And what did his plate say?
It said AP2 something, which was
my AP2 or something.
Yeah, my AP2, and I'm like, well, that's kind of like a teenage plate to have on that.
Keeps you young.
Then he did a sticker on the back that said "topless is always better" or something.
The
and
classic
it's like
S2000 sticker
with a chick on it, I think on a stripper pole, and I'm like, I like that. I like that he can still,
and then he had an Aston Martin Repeat. In there
that was
too.
Cool.
That was his, and then just a ton of cool old stuff.
They're just as DDs all lined up.
Yeah.
So, it was a really cool experience. We ended up getting a tour. We ended up talking to Dan, talking about the whole thing. We ended up getting some pictures, which was really cool. And then following that, we left with a couple shirts. You can see Dane is wearing one
Dane's
right
got
there.
His Fantomworks shirt on.
I could turn around.
Oh,
hey, DRS right there. It's a cool shirt. We all got our own shirt there, and and then we left, said our goodbyes, said our thank yous.
I got my dad a shirt, and then I was texting him photos the whole time, and he literally said, I was looking at those photos, it's just, oh my gosh, because he loves this show. And he goes, I thought, I hope he gets to see Dan. I hope he gets to talk to Dan. And then he scrolled to the next photo, and there's us standing there with Dan. And he's like, and Dan's got his arm around you. He's like, I almost started crying when I saw that photo. It was like awesome. And then I surprised him when we got home and gave him his shirt that I got for him. He was like, this is the same kind of shirt Dan wears in the show. And my dad was a total fanboy over it. So he was stoked.
But it was really impressive to see the whole operation and how they have everything laid out. And then when the guys showed up, they're all just right to work.
Yeah, they had a team meeting in the morning, and they got their marching orders, and they went to work.
And it was very much like business is on, got work to do. And, we got the initial tour, and then we kind of videoed our little tour and stuff. But, Dan, he's got stuff to
he's
do.
like, I got 5 minutes. Sorry, guys.
He chatted with us for like a good 20 minutes or so. And then after that, he had to get to work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So it was cool.
So then after that, we were back on the road because we had already packed up our stuff from our hotel, and then we drove all the way back to New Jersey, where we had our hotel in, what was it? Started with P in New Jersey.
Paramus.
Oh, you're just gonna skip over a little pit stop.
Oh, we did do a pit stop.
We stopped in
our almost Steak and Shake 2.0.
So for those of you that remember when we went down to Florida and Steak and Shake was a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah.
We were conscious of that bad juju, so to speak.
So we were avoiding anything with steak or shake in the name.
So we stopped at a Friendly's in Delaware.
Yeah, which
seemed
we didn't really realize it was almost an identical thing of Steak and Shake, just a little higher class. I mean, very slightly.
Because for those of you that don't know, here in Idaho, the only thing we know of Friendly's is we get the ice cream that you can buy at Fred Meyer's.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a Kroger grocery store. So that's the only thing we've got. I was like, hey, a Friendly's. Well, it's a restaurant. Holy cow, let's stop in and get
Dairy Queen, but more of a sit-down kind of. Yeah.
So
it's that vibe.
So the second we walk, to give it to give a little background info. Long story short, we went to Florida. We went to a Steak and Shake, even though we knew we had bad vibes. Immediately,
Dane wanted to start drinking before we even got there.
Whoa. Let me finish this. So before we even walk in, right, I drop my cell phone. Jeff's glasses fly off his face.
Yeah.
I mean, literally within 5 minutes of each other, and then we get a phone call letting us know that our whole entire booth is going to show up to the Florida Mobile Tech Expo. And then after that, that's when the omens started. And everything after that was pretty bad luck.
We walked in there and it was like empty, but that took us forever to get our food. The table was dirty.
There was
messy.
Like a baby crying in the background.
With a piece of shattered glass above the baby. There was just all this stuff. We're looking around. We're like, guys, we need to get the F out of here. And so,
get a vibe, man.
But so we always joked around that we will always avoid Steak and Shake. So when we walked into this Friendly's, immediately we go to walk up to the counter.
It's empty.
We go to walk
Place
up to
is
the
empty.
It's empty. We go to walk up to the counter, and the lady
ignores us.
The lady ignores us, and then she finally was like, "Hey, can somebody seat these people?"
She was like mad.
Yelling.
Like she'd already clearly had it at this point.
Yeah.
Whatever had gone on before we walked in there,
it was done.
It's like 1 in the afternoon.
So she asked this guy, "Hey, can you seat them?" And he looks at her and he says, "Well, why don't you ask the girls in the back since they're just standing around not doing anything,
or do it yourself?" Is what he said.
Or do it yourself. And I'm standing there like, this isn't a conversation that you should have in front of customers, right?
In front of them.
So finally they seat us, and it was just already getting awkward. We sit down. Levi's like, "All right, I'm going to go to the bathroom."
Because I had some work to do.
Within 30 seconds, right? The waitress is coming out with her cups of water, right? The whole tray falls over, lands on the table, explodes over Dane. So he's covered in water. It's dripped down his leg, into his shoe.
It was all over my shoes, so my socks soaked.
So his socks wet. And that's
but
all.
she was really sweet. It was just like, no, you're okay.
Yeah.
The other people, I'm not so sure about those guys back there.
I'm in the bathroom, and all of a sudden I receive a text that says Steak and Shake 2.0.
Yeah. So we sit down, and I think halfway through our meal, we heard some arguing in the back of us, and we're like, what's going on back there?
Going on now?
And so Dane looks at me, and Dane's like, well, I think some girl just quit on the job right there. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And I look around, and there's this girl standing at the door with all of her stuff, and the boss is like, well, are you coming back?
Are we going to see you again?
Yeah,
and she's just like,
nope. And just
sternly, just angrily looking, and it was just like, well, actually, it wasn't even like a head shake. It was like a shrug, like a really sassy shrug.
I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. So we turn around, and then there's just all of the employees clustered together, they're talking about whatever event
at the
just
front
happened.
of Denny's, there's that podium where it's like that.
So they're like, we need to talk about what just happened. And I'm just like, yeah, well, that girl just quit.
But they're all out in the open. We can hear them.
Yeah, and they're yelling at each other like, well, what are we gonna do with scheduling and all this stuff? And I'm like, okay, guys, we got to get out of here.
So Anthony and I are still eating, and Dane's like, hold on a second, I need to do some work in the bathroom too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
road trips, man.
Yeah. And then you got done.
Yep.
And then Anthony, you had to wait because apparently an employee decided to use the bathroom and lock the door.
Yeah. So
it was a very large, multi-person restroom. So while that employee went in there and locked the door, we have no idea why.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get in.
No, it was getting weird. And so, anyway, so after all that happened, we ended up leaving there. And even Dane was like, I got the weirdest feeling inside there. We had to get out of there. And
You
I
just
agree.
kind of get like an eerie, uncomfortable.
We were
it's
the
like
only
your
ones
fight
there.
or flight response kicks
Like-
in, and you're like, "This is called friendlies. It should be."
Yeah, friendlies. So friendlies, you were not friendly.
This isn't feeling so friendly.
And you know what? In
Delaware.
fairness, maybe the other ones are nice. Just this particular one was giving off some.
Yeah,
vibes.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And then I think it was on the way back to New Jersey. That's when we stopped in an old Colonial Williamsburg. I believe that's when we stopped, or was it on the way?
It was
there?
on the way down.
It was on the way down.
So the way there, so that happened as well. But
Yeah.
So anyways, we eventually got back to New Jersey, checked into our hotel
Right at the same time that the Rupes guys got in
Yep.
to the hotel. They
Yeah.
were staying at the same one.
So literally after walking to our room, Dylan Von Kleist, if you saw my Snapchat story or my story on the Rag Company Instagram page, you'll see that I saw them two coming together and hugging
Yeah.
like long lost brothers, even though they haven't seen each other in 5 days.
Yeah, basically.
It hadn't even been a week yet.
Hasn't even been a week.
And then, but then we hooked up with everybody and we went to dinner and we were like, ooh, let's go to this Urban
right.
Coal House or whatever for pizza.
Urban House.
Brew
And where
House
was
or-
it?
What was it? It was in the mall.
We didn't
Right
know
next
that
door. We didn't know.
going in.
Like, we're like, oh, it's like half a mile away. And then we drive and we're like, oh, that's a mall.
Yeah,
It's like
you could just
a mall.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird mall. We realize that a lot of those malls on the East Coast, there is malls that aren't really super busy. There's a lot of stores that are closed down inside of
It
them.
reminded me of kind of a more dead version of the mall from Mallrats. Just
Yeah.
that
Okay.
kind of.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's just not a lot. I mean, there's not a lot going on. Like for a mall, this is kind of dead, and I think it's just because obviously there's so many malls over there in comparison to our one mall here.
It looked like the mall, the central area looked like the mall from Superbad at the very
Yeah,
end of
that's
Superbad.
exactly what it
When
looked
we go to the
like.
mall, that's what it looked like. We were like, this is very familiar.
Yeah.
But we had dinner. It was
Yeah.
great.
Mhm.
The Rag Company versus Rupes,
Yep.
3-3. So we had a good dinner with everybody, chatted, had some fun.
By the way, Urban Coal House, good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pizza
it
was
was in a
really
mall. It was
good.
good.
Really
Pizza
good
was
food.
really good.
And so we all went back to the hotel, and then that's when we decided that we wanted to do, or was that no? That
No,
was
we didn't do a
We didn't do a
podcast that
podcast that night. We went back to the hotel.
We went to bed.
Everybody caught some sleep. We woke up the next morning.
And we headed to Connecticut.
Yeah, first thing that we did.
Because we just can't get enough road
Yeah,
trips
you can't-
on our
yeah.
We
trip.
just haven't driven enough
So
at this point.
Jeremy had told us to take the Sawmill Parkway to Connecticut. So
Yeah.
it'd be a fun road to drive on.
It was.
And it was a fun road to drive. That'd be a fun road on your little Miata or the Volvo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
You'd be-
beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful road.
Kind of reminds me of Highway 1, except more foresty. So
Yeah.
if you've ever driven Highway 1 on in California, like instead of being a coastline and really, I don't know, ocean-like, it was like that, but just
Yeah.
woodsy and really, really nice.
Lots of trees, lots of
Yeah.
rusty, it just had a real cool vibe.
And then we did the little bridge where it goes under the ocean, and that was pretty cool. So we did that.
Well, that's not a bridge.
Well, not a bridge. Well, I don't know. What do you call that then?
A tunnel.
A tunnel?
Yeah, we went under a tunnel.
An underground ocean tunnel? Okay.
Yep.
Well, that was on our way back up. We went on that underground ocean tunnel.
Yes.
In Virginia.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So maybe that's
we
what
hit
it
a
was.
couple of those on our trip in
It's
various
pretty wild.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, back in Connecticut, we hooked up at the Simoniz Garage. We hooked up with Tom Palancia over there, and we got to take a look at the garage, which is not only a kind of their test lab for Simoniz, where they actually get to demo products, but it's also their studio where they shoot their Simoniz Garage stuff on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And then they hold it as a training facility for new detailers and stuff that want to learn.
Yeah.
But then it's also an active detail shop.
Yeah.
Which was wild.
So I believe Will was his name, right?
Will, yeah.
So Will, awesome guy.
He's the
Super
manager
cool.
there.
Will,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're listening to this, man, you're awesome, dude.
Yeah.
He greeted us, showed us, gave us the tour. So he's the one that's manages that place and his details as well. And so gave us the tour, showed us all of the old Simoniz products.
Tons of memorabilia. And say what you will, whether you love Simoniz or you hate Simoniz, they've been around 110 years.
Long time.
Yeah.
I
they're
mean,
still
or
they're still around.
107 years, actually. Almost 110 years. So to think about car care over the last century,
Yeah.
they've been in it. So
yeah.
to be able to do that was just seeing all the stuff. That was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Was to see just the old
more
car
brick.
waxes that were basically floor waxes and
Yeah.
different varnishes and stuff that you could put on your car back in the day. It's just wild.
Well,
so many cool old signs.
So we did our tour, and then we ended up doing a video. So you guys are
And
gonna
more
be able
brick.
to, you guys are going to be able to see a video tour of that place as well, and that's something I'm working on right now. Really, really cool. Tom is just awesome.
Yeah,
He's just
really
a super,
cool guy.
super nice guy. Super knowledgeable. We hung out there for a little while, sat down, did some video, and then after that we went and grabbed lunch.
Yep.
At I believe
Plan B.
Plan B is what it was.
You guys had
burger place.
a very rare and hard to find beer.
beer, burgers, and bourbon.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the
What was
thing.
the beer that we had? It was called
Maine lunch.
Maine lunch, as in Maine, the state, Maine.
Yeah.
And
Maine
lunch is in the whale that is in that bay or whatever.
Well, and apparently this was a really, really, really rare beer that was really hard to
Yeah.
get. So it's the kind
Tom
of thing
looked
that
at us and he
Dylan
said-
von
he said,
Kleist, if
"That's
you're
something."
listening, you should be jealous right now.
Tom looked at us and he said, "If you guys need to order that, even if you don't even like beer, because he's like, that's a rare beer." And we're like, "All right, we'll
He's
take
like,
your
I
word
would,
for it."
I would travel hundreds of miles for that beer.
Yeah.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
like,
it's
they
like,
don't
oh.
have growlers. Like,
Yeah. So
He needs to pack
don't
one.
just give this away.
Yeah.
You gotta.
we had a good lunch. We said our goodbyes to Tom, and then we were back on the road.
yeah.
Yep.
And so
Headed
it was
back to New Jersey.
West
New
Hartford's
Jersey.
beautiful. By the way.
Yeah,
That
West
town.
Hartford is where we were, Connecticut. That was a gorgeous little area.
like
Just
small town feel, but it was just beautiful. Everything
Yeah.
was very picturesque and
Yeah.
it was very nice. And we went on back. So back on the road, we ended up back in New Jersey to meet up with everybody. I think for dinner time.
for
right?
dinner. Yeah. So we headed to the what's the Roadhouse or whatever
I know what you're talking about.
something.
yeah,
BJ's or
Miller's.
Miller's
Roadhouse.
Ale House. is
Ale
what it
House.
was.
Yeah, we went there and met up with again Jeremy Harding, Travis Barnaby, Dylan von Kleist of Rupes, and then
Two
Andy
more.
Ward and
Andy
Jason
Ward.
Kilmer of
Yeah.
KXK Dynamics were there.
Always nice to see.
So it was a fun group of the eight
yeah.
of us just hanging out having dinner. And we didn't all sit, again, 3 on 3 with the 2 on the ends. Like we mixed it up. So
Yeah.
Yep.
we all kind of sit around and just chatted and got to talk. And you guys got to talk a lot with Andy, and
Yep.
you got to
Yeah.
bring up Rob because he's worked on Rob's cars and knows Rob real well.
Yeah. So so we talked a lot. Everybody had a good time, and after that was when I was noticing my stomach was starting to bother me. I was having some weird burping issues. I don't know what it was. I was like, so I told them, like, guys, everybody agreed that we wanted to do a podcast, and so everybody was like, all right, well, we need to go stop and get some drinks. We don't have anything in our hotel room. And I'm like, all right, well, while you guys are doing that, I'm going to get some Pepto-Bismol, and that'll
Yeah.
be my drink of choice
Yeah.
during our podcast. So we wound up back at the hotel.
We all went into Dylan's room.
All went into Dylan's room. We grabbed our mic there, and we sat down and had our very first super podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was awesome. The only person that didn't come to the podcast was Jeremy. He was a little tired,
he was
so
tired.
he went to bed.
Yep.
But everybody else was in it, so you'll have to check those ones out when we release them. It was a lot of fun because it's fun to have that many different people talking in a room and talking about the industry and different aspects of the industry.
Perspectives,
You kind of hit
opinions.
on a lot of different topics. It was cool.
Yeah. So then what we do? So then that was Thursday night,
Yeah.
and then Friday morning. Dane, what happened?
Friday morning. I want to jog my memory on that one because my
Friday
days
morning-
are all mixed up.
Friday morning, we headed straight to Detailer's Domain because
Right.
that was the education day.
Yeah.
Levi was going to be leading the education day, and that was his task for the day.
Yep.
Me and Dane had a different task.
What'd you
at
do,
hand.
Dane?
Well, we ended up going over to Rob Ferretti's house.
Yep.
SuperSpeeder's Rob, if you're familiar with YouTube. So that was cool. One of his multiple properties. This one was a particularly interesting little plot.
was
you
the
may
one
have,
in
you may have
his,
seen in some of his videos, he's got kind of a... well, let's just say he plans on knocking this house down.
Plans on knocking down, but it's a historical house. It was, I think,
Yeah.
you said it was built in the
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. So we ended up going to Detailer's Domain. First off, grabbing all the gear that we needed because it turns out that we were going to be doing another polish video, basically.
And initially, we thought we might be working on that black Ferrari F430 Spider he has,
Yeah.
but it ended up being that we actually got to work on the blue Acura NSX.
Yeah, which
So
I was actually
that was super exciting.
I was actually more
Yeah.
pumped about that. So we showed up at at Rob's house. We were meted by Jimbo, which is his right hand guy there, and
Jimbo is a fascinating dude.
he's a cool guy, man.
He's cool.
He's
Jimbo,
awesome.
if you're listening, You're cool.
He's so smart. I mean, for his age, I mean, he's what, 20 years old.
I think he's 20 or 21.
He
maybe?
knows so much about video, and he knows so much about media and things like that. So it was really cool to pick his brain. But we met up with him, and shortly after, Rob showed up, and we kind of talked about the plan for the day and what we wanted to do. And I kind of explained that, we could do a wash Wednesday and make it just a wash, but I think it would be more fun to do a full polish video. So,
and going into it, we thought we were going to be doing this in his driveway at this house, which
wouldn't have been ideal.
The setting is interesting. It's a little bit tight. That driveway isn't particularly wide. It's
a lot of trees.
It's very picturesque with the trees and everything. It's just when you see the garage and stuff, you're like, oh.
Yeah, and I wanted more of an isolated area, something closed off from the environment. So we talked about it, and he's like, well, guys, I actually have a place near Detailer's Domain that I think we could use. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. I mean, that makes it easy for us. And if in case I need to grab more equipment,
you can run back over.
Probably not too far away.
So you texted me and said, on our way back over by Detailers, we're going to be near Detailer's Domain.
Yeah, and so you're like, okay, so they're coming back.
We didn't know how near.
We end up showing up, and we park the car, and I look over at Jimbo, and I'm like, all right, Jim, where's the place at? And he's like, right here. And he points to this door, and it's the door literally next to Detailer's Domain.
Yeah.
It is literally...
It's the same building.
They share the same wall. It's the same building. And I'm like,
literally on the other side of the wall, I'm standing there teaching the class while the...
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, so we're just right here? And he's like, yeah, this is where we're at. So we opened the garage. So this was one of those places that Rob does a lot of. He does some video work there and stuff like that. And so we pulled out two drift cars, two awesome looking drift cars.
Super cool sponsored drift cars.
And end up pulling the NSX in. And we filmed a whole video. We did a wash Wednesday, wash portion with Rob. I kicked him out of the place, and because I needed to get some stuff done. So the plan was, I guess the idea was just to give it a one-step polish, a true one-step.
Yeah.
And Rob, if you know Rob as a person, he does not care about detailing. That is something he is not. He can appreciate it when it's done, but he's like, guys, I'm not going to know the difference between a 50 and 80% correction. You'll show me the swirl, so I just won't. I won't care.
He sees the difference between a wash car and a dirty car.
So,
but beyond that, it's just kind of like varying degrees of like, I guess I see it, but he just wants to drive. That's
So taking that into account, I mean, it was so awesome. Phil at Detailer's Domain, shout out to you. Thank you so much. He let me borrow machines.
Yeah,
so,
anything you needed.
I grabbed an LHR 15 Mark II. I grabbed a 75. And then Dylan and the rest of the Rupes team donated a bunch of yellow pads for the Rupes machines, and I absolutely love the yellow pads. I think they're awesome.
And we brought some last cut with us in our crate.
And we did, and that was my secret weapon. My secret weapon, because you guys know how much I love that product, and it was amazing. Started the process. We basically washed it, did a decon with a clay towel, Optimum clay towel. We did wash it with O&R. The car was filthy, and then after we washed it, what I ended up finding was some really hard spots of crystallized sap. And I'll just be honest with you, in all of the detailing that I've done, we don't get sap like that here in Idaho. At least nothing that hardens to that degree.
This is like somebody left super glue on a car. It's that kind of
so,
sap.
So I start picking at it with my nail. I look at it. I'm like, okay, this isn't coming off. And so it was funny. I go and grab Levi. I'm like, come in. I'm sweating because the garage is like, so hot.
What did you do?
Hot. And Levi's looking at me. He's like, did you screw it up? I'm like, no, I didn't screw it up. Everything's fine.
You came in and you were like all sweaty and your eyes were all like big, like, I need help.
I'm like, I might need a plastic razor blade. And you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe some solvent. So it was funny because we went to Kevin. So we went up to Kevin and said, hey, do you have any solvent?
For Phil.
Literally, like, teleported. Already had a can of
he snapped his fingers and it was in his hand.
Tree sap remover, and it was in his hand. So we used some of the Stoner's aerosol stuff, and it worked awesome. Literally
got it all off.
Took it right off.
I think it was Terminator, right?
Yeah. So cleaned it back off again because I didn't want to leave that solvent on the paint. Cleaned it off again with O&R, and then that's when the corrections or polish started. I don't want to say correction because
you just did a one step.
It was a one step. But what was amazing though,
it was a good one
was
step.
how good it turned out for a one step. And I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to toot my own horn, guys, but I mean, Dane and everybody else saw it.
I'll vouch for it.
And it was a huge improvement. There was still some deeper stuff inside the paint, but for the most part, I was really happy with the way it turns out, and I was definitely using my Scan Grip lighting. I had my iView headlamp on. And
you needed it because even though there was natural light coming in, it was
dark.
a fairly
there was
dark
no light in that
warehouse.
building.
There was no actual lighting above the that we had turned on, and the car looking at the car, if you'd seen it before, it was dusty, it was dirty, it had that sap and stuff, but it also had like rock chips and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So when you
It's
end
a
up
driver.
seeing the finished video, you're going to see, there's some stuff, there's some imperfections, but the fact of the matter is where it was and where it ended up are two very different things.
So while
still.
they were doing that, I was over at Detailer's Domain. We had about 35 people, 37 people show up to the event. They
This
were
was
all
the
paid.
private-
They all paid to be there. We taught, Rupes taught a class, and then for about an hour on the 4 movements and pads and machines and all that. And then I got up there and spoke on microfiber and taught our presentation, Microfiber 101. Did that for everybody. Did a lot of Q&A with them, which was it's always good. And then Andy and Jason got up and talked about sanding blocks and how they created it and all that stuff. And then everybody got to throw down on Jeremy's rental car, his Audi, and they let them sand stuff that you could sand the Fiat hood, the red Fiat Rupes hood. You could sand that. You could polish. You could play with. Everybody just kind of had playtime.
Yeah.
We were using Eagle 350s for the whole event.
They were everywhere.
For polishing and wiping off compound and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody that attended that event got an Eagle 350, and
Nice.
so a lot of fun. We had a good time, and it was fun having you guys next door because people would walk out and
We
come
had
watch
a
you.
lot of
Which was pretty great. I thought it was pretty realistically like the best of both worlds to have you guys so close for you when you ran into any unexpected events.
Yep.
But also for the event, so that the folks that paid could actually kind of see a Wash Wednesday being filmed and get to check that out.
A fun
so that
bonus.
was and then you got to eat too because Kimchi Smoke was there cooking up some brisket, and it was insane.
Yeah.
But
It
then
was-
what happened at the end of the day? We left. We were getting ready to go.
Yeah.
The event was over. We'd closed up shop, but you guys were still working.
Yeah.
There's a lot more time left.
Phil
for
was
us.
taking us all out to dinner,
Yeah.
and you guys were like, "We're not going to dinner."
Phil
Sorry.
really wanted us to go with you guys, but we're like, we got.
Yeah, you guys were. You had to finish that. So, but Marco.
Yeah. So Marco. So basically, I'm out polishing this car, and I am pretty much at this point 80% done. I was making really good time. We were filming in between things, so it's a longer process. It's going to take longer than a typical one step's going to take.
Yeah.
So we're basically I'm finishing up one of the sides there. What I have left is I have the front bumper, I have a fender, and then I have the pillars and all these smaller areas that I saved for last. And Marco comes out, and Dylan's there as well, and they're kind of looking at me. They're like, "Well, how much longer do you got?" I'm like, "Guys, I'll be honest, I'm not going to make it for dinner. We got a lot to do still." No. And Dylan's like, "All right, well, maybe Marco can jump in there and go and help you out, right?" And Marco looks at Dylan, and Marco looks at me, and he's like, "I'm down. I'm down to do it."
I could do that.
I look at him, and I'm like, "Wait, are you serious? Do you really want to get in on this?" And Marco just looks back at Dylan. He looks at me, and he's like, "Wait, are we actually doing this? Is
Can
this
I do
actually
this?"
happening?"
And you were like,
I'm like,
"Who are you?" And he's like, he goes, "Well, I'm the one that posted that picture of the Lamborghini with the."
You do know how to detail,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
He's just making sure.
Just wanted to make sure. He's
making
like,
sure.
"I'm the guy that sent you that cyclone mitt on the Lamborghini." I'm like, "Dude, you know exactly what you're doing." I'm like, "Grab that 75 and knock out that bumper."
Yeah, and he was
So-
like, "Okay,
he
okay,"
was
and
so
like put
excited.
the bag
Yeah.
down. So Marco, thank you for coming in clutch.
"Yeah, dude, you helped me out, man. That bumper looked good." And so he grabbed the iView. He
That
grabbed
shaved
the
like
75,
10 minutes off the
Yeah.
job.
and it was
so.
his first time using the last cut, right?
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
it was funny because he starts using it, and he stops the machine, he looks over at me, he's like, "This stuff's amazing." And I'm like, "I know. So I've been telling people it's really good." So we end up finishing that. He ended up having to go because his wife showed up, and we did a little thing with him in the video. I wanted to give him a shout out
Include
saying thank you for helping me out. And I think he runs is it OC Detailing? Or what is the
on,
New Jersey.
Yeah.
On Instagram, he's oc.detailer, and the E in detailer, or the second E in detailer is a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gave him a shout out there, and so he took off. I finished the rest of the car, and this is where I kind of had to decide what to use to protect the vehicle, right? And this is where it comes down to what we talk about. What does your customer want, right? And at this point, Rob's my customer, right? He's not a guy that's super particular.
You're not going to coat it.
If I were to coat that car, it would probably last a sixth of what it's meant to last because he runs it through a tunnel car wash. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to throw some wax on there. So I had some Optimum spray wax in my back pocket, layered the car, looked absolutely awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Love the way that stuff looks. Used bead maker on the wheels after I cleaned those up to give those a little protection. It looked really, really good, and I was happy with it. So he showed up, finished the rest of our video. We went for a drive, so got to go drive around the NSX. I will say that driving around those East Coast roads, not ideal.
It's a lowered, very stiff
in
NSX.
a lowered, exotic feeling car. It was a little rough, but it was after that though. So I'm guessing a lot of people may be listening from somebody else's podcast, and you could be listening from his podcast because this is when he asked us, "Hey, you guys coming over for the podcast later?"
Yeah.
And me and Dane looked at each other and said, "Yep." We are down.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we ended up going back to the hotel after that, refreshing, eating some food, and went back to his place at that same house to record a podcast with him. And so, which was really cool. It was awesome to kind of talk about the Rag Company, talk about what we do, talk about our podcast, kind of plugged ourselves, and then turning it around to talk to him about detailing, asking him.
He was so taken aback. He's like, "You want to ask me questions?" Like,
Yeah,
whoa.
well, I mean, absolutely, and I mean, this is what we do. I mean, we do podcasts, so I don't think he knew that this is what we did.
Yeah,
all the time.
I don't think he was expecting that
we do this weekly.
But that was rolled
fun.
hands at this media.
Yeah. So, but Jim was awesome. He had the whole thing set up, really kind of guided us through, kept us on track. So we finished up the podcast with him. And while we were doing that, you were also doing a podcast.
Part 2, Super Podcast.
Yeah.
So we all went to dinner, and
Where'd you guys go?
Phil took us to the little town of Piermont, New York.
Yeah.
Literally built on the side of a hill right on the Hudson. And this cool, I'm a history nerd, and so like seeing cool old stuff like the city and all this town, and Phil, like we were on these switchback roads coming down, we're driving in Phil's M2, and I rode with Phil there while the guys rode in their car.
That's a cool M2.
Yeah, so we got over there, and
like dream car status right there. Not quite dream car, but it's like I'm pretty close.
It was cool. So
it.
we hung out. So we got there, and he's like, "Yeah, this is where George Washington came through when he crossed the Hudson." And I was like, "Okay, that's pretty dope."
Yeah.
And he took us to this restaurant that was like an old pub.
Like it looked like a pub.
It was like
Showed
an
a
old
picture
pub,
of it.
but an old, I don't know, Victorian house or pre-Victorian, Edwardian house. And we went in and had dinner. It was called 14th and Hudson, or 14 on Hudson. And it was cool. Food was good, awesome service. Very small place that apparently fills up fast. So you have to, so we got there at like 4 o'clock and got our spots and sat down at this big table. Your guys' seats stayed empty, of course.
Yeah,
we missed out on you.
I was hoping you were going to bring me leftovers or something.
No, I didn't.
Right?
No,
I didn't get anything. Worked all day. Showed up.
Had an amazing, just phenomenal dinner with everybody. Told a lot of I don't know, industry discussions, because I mean you've got 4 different companies. You've got KXK, Rupes, Rag Company, and Detailer's Domain, and you've got probably, I don't know, 100 years or more of experience in the industry between
easily.
all of us.
Oh yeah.
And a few of us that have been in it for the last 20 years. And so it was fun to kind of talk about just stuff. And so we sat, had a great conversation at dinner. Then Phil bought us dessert too. Said, "What do you guys want for dessert?" I had a brownie on 2. Let's just say I gained like 10 pounds on this trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unbelievable dessert. And then I rode back with the Rupes guys because Phil wasn't going to come to he's like, "I got to go home. My wife will kill me." And but Phil bought us dinner. It was awesome. Thank you, Phil, for dinner. And then we headed back and we did a podcast ourselves with Rupes and KXK Dynamics. Same thing, another super podcast in Dylan's room. Only this time Jeremy showed up. So that was good to have Jeremy in on it. And so that's what we did while you guys went over into that.
You did the super podcast. We did the Super Speeders podcast.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
There's that.
So
it's pretty funny how
in
that
case
worked
you're
out.
wondering where to find us on that thing.
Yeah.
Super Speeders.
So we finished that podcast strong, though. That was a lot of fun. So thank you to Rob and thank you to Jim for making that happen. It was an awesome experience. I thought that was really, really cool.
I bet Rob didn't know that the Rag Company podcast was going on at the same time as their podcast.
It's funny because the week before us, right, Adam LZ was on his podcast, and so we're going to be the week after Adam, which is funny. So So it's a small world. I'm going
He
to talk
puts them
about.
out like it says every Wednesday at 6. So
Yeah.
I guess
so it might be coming out
tomorrow
tomorrow
at
at
6
6.
p.m.
That'd be awesome.
So anyways, we went back to the hotel. I was exhausted. I was done.
You guys got back. It was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
it was a little late.
And we had to be up again in 6 hours. So we showed up in the hotel room, kind of talked to Levi a little bit. We all passed out. Woke up the next morning because that day was now the day of the Detailers Domain Open House, the main event.
Yeah,
I guess,
the reason we were there.
The reason we were there in the first place. And so we went and had breakfast with the Rupes team, talk the plan, what we're going to do. And then we showed up to the event. It was really cool. Pulling in immediately, we're greeted by I don't know how many nice BMWs did you see? Lambos, BMWs, all these.
The Huracan Performante was nice.
I mean, amazing cars. I mean, right off the bat, we're like, holy crap! Phil wasn't kidding about this event. This is pull some nice
Swag
cars.
Rides brought out their truck. That was just ridiculous.
That was a cool truck.
Yeah. So we're pulling in. We see Larry from Ammo. He's got his Porsche and he's got his R8 there. Where we see the Rupes team's getting all set up. There was 30 boxes of donuts.
30 boxes of donuts.
Sitting in the main room there. We park. We basically get out, start doing our greetings and stuff. And so this event that was truly an open house, a place for people to show up, ask questions, see cars, talk to these industry representatives, and get a good idea on what's happening and what's new.
Yeah, and what was great for us was, I was saying this to some of the other folks, and I was telling Jeff this. He wanted to know how our event went, and for us, we got to see a ton of people who listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I
watch
was
our
shocked
YouTube
at just
channel.
how many
You
people
guys are
actually
weird
do.
listening to this.
There's a dude walking around.
thank you.
With a Watch Wednesday shirt on and a Master Shine hat.
Yeah.
A couple of Ragco shirts around.
A couple Ragco shirts. So for us, that means a lot because, like I was explaining, Rupes is a much larger company than us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jeremy Harding is their national sales manager.
Yep.
And Travis Barnaby is their Eastern Seaboard sales guy, and so sales rep. So in their terms of that company, the company asks Jeremy, how'd everything go? And Jeremy asks Travis, how's everything going in that area? We don't have that. It's just the three of us.
Yeah.
We're all in Boise.
Yeah. So
little ways away.
So we can do all this stuff and post on Instagram, post on Facebook, do our YouTube, do this stuff, and give you guys this content. But we don't know how it's being received in that area.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to events like this. And this
All
was
we
our
know is
first
what you
time.
tell us.
And this was our first time to the East Coast. And so to be there and have that many people come to us and say, hey, thanks, we appreciate it. This is, listen. I had a guy came up to me, John, who has Malibu Detailing. He's like, man, I download Detox when I drive home from work every day.
Nice.
He goes, I listen to the podcast. I watch all your guys' stuff. He goes, I just want to say thanks for doing all that. And
thank you.
But that means a lot, because that means that what we're doing is working. So for us, from a business standpoint, that's our market reach is getting there. We've got good saturation, so to speak. So that was really cool. And just being, everybody being there it was so much fun to get out and just hang out with other detailers, and if you guys haven't gone to an event like this, you should. If you've been thinking about going to an event like this, you should, because there's something about getting in a room with a bunch of other detailers, people that you can connect with, or you can talk to, or you can bounce ideas off of. I can't keep harping on it enough. Hook up with local detailers in your area. If you haven't already. Make friends. Become friends with these guys.
Yeah.
Don't be competitors.
No, it's
become
a lot better than making
friends.
enemies.
Yeah, become friends with them, because that's what this is all about, because you actually grow better as a business when you have friends to lean on or help or assist or bounce ideas off. As one guy said, I've never even thought about doing a rental car.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Rent it.
Yeah.
Rent a rental car and fix it.
Do what you want to it, yeah.
And just have fun, practice
It's
on
only
it.
going to get better.
Yeah, it's got every type of scratch or water spot or... you can't mimic that on a customer's car, because each this car has hit every type of thing on it.
It's been keyed. It's been under a tree.
You got to practice
seawater.
on a couple junkers before you take home the real thing.
Yeah, that's right. But it was just fun to see. So, but we got to have a lot of fun. But we were there till noon.
Yeah.
we had a great conversation.
Yeah.
With everybody there.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
I had an awesome talk with Larry. From Ammo.
Yeah.
I mean, we all talked to Larry, and it was really cool. I mean, I liked his thoughts on. We talked about wraps, we talked about PPF, we talked about things like that, and it's kind of funny because we're, me and him kind of have that same wavelength in terms of some clinical OCD things. But it was cool to talk to him about that, and then we talked to Phil, and seeing how good that seeing how much Phil was selling. He had an awesome day.
He had a great day
of sales,
Saturday.
and
place was packed.
And big thanks to everybody that was supporting him and doing that and making that possible. He was doing a good sale, and a lot of people were coming up to me and asking about towels. Right, they wanted to really get their towels situated, and a lot of these guys. It's funny because education is so important because a lot of these people come up to me and say, "All right, I'll be honest, I have Costco towels." And I have one good drying towel.
I know they came in at like a confessional every time.
And I said, hey man, that's all right, man. And they're like, well, I'm gonna go throw away my Costco towels when I get home. I'm like, why would you do that?
No. Keep
those for something. Don't throw them away. But let's get you set up and let's talk to you about what you can do to change that and maybe make you more efficient, save you some more time, some more money, and invest in some better tools. That's what microfiber is. And they went over and picked up stuff from Phil that Phil had from our lineup, which was really cool. But then seeing just all these guys are so stoked on picking up machines, like buying a Rupes machine.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of guys buying machines.
And then carrying their boxes out, biggest smile on their face, right? Their wives are looking at him like, oh God, he keeps buying machines. And I look at him, I say, good job, you picked the right one, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it was fun. It was cool. Fun seeing everybody. Then we hustled. Yeah. We had to get back. We had to leave at noon.
No breaks.
We went to the car, changed really quick, got out of our work stuff, put on our comfy stuff because we were about to get in a plane for another 6.5 hours.
We went through, got to Newark, got our car dropped off, got everything went smoothly, got into the airport, and we ran into somebody.
The dollar clerk, you gave him.
I did. I gave him some Eagle 350s that I had in my bag still.
Dude, he
had a junky looked like a Target towel in his back pocket.
90-10 blend or something.
Yeah. So I was like, man, you need a better towel. Give him an upgrade. Gave him 3 of those, so he was stoked. And then we, while we were at the airport waiting for our flight, we found our gate. Sat down. We had about 45 minutes.
Can I tell this from my perspective? I really want to tell this
go ahead,
because this is just so good. I go to the bathroom, right? I got to go to the bathroom before any flight, right? I'm coming back. I walk up to Levi. Levi's sitting on his phone, looking down at his phone. Dane's just kind of sitting there on his phone, kind of like just looking off into space, right? And I walk up to Levi. I'm like, oh, what's going on, guys? And Levi looks up from his phone, looks at me, and he's like, Thor's behind you. And I'm like, what do you say? He's like, Thor is behind you. And I turn around, and my first impression is I need to look around for a big muscular man, right? Look for some big bloke or something. I turn around, I don't really see anything. I'm like, what are you talking about, Thor? And he's like, you're like, Thor, Chris Hemsworth is behind you. And I turn around again, and I see a dude in a white V-neck, jeans, boots, backpack on, and sunglasses hanging from his shirt there. And I'm like, holy crap, is that really him? I look at Levi, and Levi's like, yes, that's really him. And so Levi's on his phone trying to stay calm.
I'm taking pictures of him, and I'm texting him to my wife.
And I'm like, holy, and I finally turn around. I saw his face. I'm like, holy crap, that's actually him. This is a real thing happening right now. In the Newark airport,
just a little section at the end too.
The terminal for United Airlines in Alaska. I'm like, what is he doing here?
Oh, it was American.
And American Airlines is what it was. And I turn around, and so he ended up meeting, I think, what looked like maybe his mom.
No, it was a air general. So it's a person that can escort you around the airport.
Okay.
So it was like a personal escort. So it looked like it was him and 2 friends.
Yeah.
And she was escorting him around. Probably because he's an A-list celebrity, and he was taking a flight to Dallas.
Yeah, of all places, yeah.
So that's my guess. But he disappeared for a while. His friends stayed out with the lady.
Yeah.
He disappeared, so he may have gone to the Admirals Club for all I know.
Probably
and hung out there for a while.
But when he returned, it was funny because I'm thinking, not anybody really noticed him except for us. And I was regretting not running up and taking a fangirl picture, but he came back, and immediately, you heard the crowd behind us, and everybody start
kids and moms
running up with their cell phones, and he goes and sits down at one of the normal seats at the airport.
He knows what's coming.
What was really cool though, right? Because part of me is like, dang it, Anthony, you dummy, you should have gone and take a picture. Levi's thinking the same thing. I should have got a picture for my kids, or I should have got a video.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what was really cool is he sat down and he only took pictures with the kids.
Yeah.
He wasn't taking any pictures with any of the adults. It was just the kids calling him Thor and the kids that look up to him. And I was like, you know what? Props, dude.
Yeah. And then he got up because he was boarding. And he was like, thanks, guys. I got to go.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I don't feel bad. I wouldn't have gotten a picture anyways, but I'm glad that he took pictures with the kids. That showed what kind of person he was. And that was super cool. And then after that, we boarded our own flight.
Yeah.
And that was long for me.
That was a long flight, but I had checked us in the night before while you guys were over at Rob's. I checked us in, and I moved our seats to the exit row.
Yeah,
which afforded us
thank you.
quite a bit of leg room.
That's better than premium.
Yeah, we flew premium on the way back, but it was great. But it was, on the way over, but it was way back home, that exit row. The only thing I didn't like was we couldn't recline the seats.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, that leg room was wicked.
Oh, yeah.
But fortunately, when we were taking this flight, it was midday. It wasn't like late in the evening. We didn't get home until midnight, but that's with all the time changes and stuff. So at least the non-reclining seats happened during a point when we were awake anyway.
Yeah. It wasn't bad, and the leg room was fine.
Yeah.
And
the leg room was more than fine.
You guys, you got to sit your favorite style.
Oh yeah. I got to do my little crisscross
because there was no one sitting between the two of you.
Nope.
So you guys had a row to
yourselves. Basically, I said, "All right." I waited until the door closed. I was like, "I don't want to steal somebody's spot." But as soon as that door closes,
Dane's like,
if nobody's here,
coming up.
I am going over to the window. We're leaving this middle seat
applesauce.
open, and I am going crisscross applesauce.
Yeah. So that was. So it was a long flight, but we ended up getting back to Portland, is where we flew to. So we had a layover in Portland, 3 hours. I think it was about 2 hours is what it was. And so we went and grabbed some food, talked about our trip.
Charged our phones.
And then from there, we boarded the flight, and that was a short flight. From Portland to Boise, it was just an hour. And by that time, though, I think we were all just ready to be home. We were just, let's get home, and let's just, but that actually didn't end there for us, though. I got to keep going for a second.
Yeah, well, let's see what Levi did first.
Oh, yeah, so Levi, we
home
landed, and you went home, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was it?
Went to bed.
Well, it must have been nice, because what we ended up doing is Dane's girlfriend came and picked us up. Dane jumped in the driver's seat, and we jumped on the freeway. We're coming up on the...
you got on the wreck?
We're coming up... We're coming up on the freeway, and we see... And this is 12:30 at night. There is no traffic in Boise on the freeway at 12:30 at night.
Never
This is not
on
a
the
thing.
Freeway.
And we're pulling up, and we see it starts backing up, and it's really building up. I'm talking like building up. And we're like, what's going on? This is insane. And we sat there for about 45 minutes.
You see road flares and like a cop car goes by, an ambulance goes by.
And this is two or three exits from the airport.
Yeah. So
not very far.
We haven't even made it anywhere. So
the problem was there's no exits between there for us to get off. So we're just like,
so in 45 minutes, we made it about a quarter mile. And we start seeing that there's flares, and we start seeing all these cops and stuff like that. And we're like, what? And like, I'm sitting there like, there better have been like a Red Bull truck tip over.
There better be something
and there better be
insane
something
at the end of
crazy. Because it was 5 lanes of traffic trying to merge into one. And eventually, after another, I think 45 minutes, we were stuck there for about an hour.
We were there for like an hour and a half.
We finally get closer, and then we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Turns out 2 semis crashed into each other. One of them was carrying fuel, I believe, and the other one was an Apple semi.
And it was carrying matches.
Yeah, it was carrying something, basically, which were just straight, and then there was a couple other cars. One car was hit, another car was hit, and there was a huge, basically at one point, there was a fire that engulfed the complete overpass.
Yeah. It happened under an overpass, like one of the very few overpasses on that stretch, so of course it has to happen.
Probably.
And an overpass that didn't have exits on it. It's literally just a bridge over the...
Yeah, it's just a bridge.
Probably one of the worst accidents I've ever seen, and it was like some zombie apocalypse stuff. Like you would be like,
gnarly.
What is going on? And so I'm sure the biggest slowdown was because people were taking pictures, but finally past that, got home, and I think all of us were pretty happy to be home. I got to see my dogs. You saw your kids. Dane got to see.
Saw my dog.
Augie jumped me at about 7 a.m. I went to bed about 2.
Yeah.
And he jumped me about 7 a.m. Sunday morning. Dad. Yeah. He's like, oh, why'd you wake me up? But it was fun. Yeah, happy Father's Day. So, but it was good.
Yeah. So
took yesterday off, and
yeah, we all. I think you took yesterday off. I think Sunday I didn't even have enough time. I mean, Sunday I was just sleeping all day, and I was still super out of it. Yesterday came into work. Me and both Dane came into work. And
I started working on the recap video already.
nice.
Yeah, and you guys are gonna like this. This is the whole. It was such an awesome trip, and we saw so many cool things. I think the recap video will really show you, just like all the other stuff.
We've told you the story, but then you can watch it through our eyes.
Yeah,
And
it was a fun
to
trip.
get that done.
Yeah, it was a fun trip. I'll be honest when I say I don't like being away from home for a long period. I'm a homebody, or I'm a city person. I like being around my own town.
See, I enjoy the adventure.
But I liked seeing the East Coast because that was the first time I ever seen it, and it was different than what I thought.
Yeah. No, it was
And
awesome. I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back and see everybody again. That was really.
There's a lot of
it was
people
good time.
asking for us to go back already.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. So,
Yeah,
it's
We'll have
flattering.
to do it.
Thank you.
yeah, but no. So I guess taken from this, we had an awesome trip. Thanks to everybody that came out to the Detailers Domain event. And then I think this week we have a lot of other cool stuff in the works.
We got a special guest is going to be on the podcast. I don't want to tease it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we won't say anything. He'll be in a podcast and possibly a video. We'll see what we end up doing.
We'll see what we manage in a day.
Yeah. But cool, guys. Well, I think that's
Guess
gonna
that
be
sums it up. So, if you've been watching this, you're on YouTube on the Red Company channel. If you've been listening, you might be on iTunes at the Red Company Podcast or on shoutengine.com. And that's just letting you know where to find us. So, at any rate, thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See you guys. Have fun.